You may not realize it, but this right here, this is the face of fear in competitive Pokemon Go PvP. My name is Henry. I am one of the official casters for the Pokemon Go Championship Series, and today I'm going to be talking about this Shadow Scorpion Pokemon, Shadow Drapion, and how it has completely taken competitive Pokemon Go PvP by storm in the 2025 competitive season. On September 3rd of 2024, Pokemon Go PvP saw probably its biggest balance update ever. As a part of the max out season, many top meta threats like Vigoroth and Altaria were completely nerfed into the ground and a new meta was built. And a change that at first did not seem particularly impactful but ended up having massive ramifications was the buff to Poison Sting. Now, Poison Sting was already a great move, but this change increased its base damage from 3 to 4. Now, an increase of 1 damage does not sound particularly impactful, but when you were starting with only 3 base damage, that is 33% extra base damage, which does actually end up being quite significant for a Pokemon like Shadow Drapion. Today, I'm going to be showcasing some of the best played games from the Pokemon Go competitive series, where battlers use Shadow Drapion to its peak potential to absolutely run away with games. The first match we'll be taking a look at is from the 2025 San Antonio Regional Championships. And this was a battle in losers finals between the Torian 22 and Dr. Roast Beef. Now, the Torian is able to absolutely maximize value out of Shadow Drapion in this game. So the leads are set, and it's going to be a Bibarel for Dr. Roast Beef into the Shadow Drapion for the Torian. Looking across Dr. Roast Beef's team, Dr. Roast Beef does not have a Pokemon on his team that does a good job at walling off energy from Drapion. So the Torian knows Drapion will always have value into this team. So he's more than happy to commit an early shield and is actually going to go for an early double shield as well. He knows Shadow Drapion will have near universally positive play as long as it has energy remaining. He's at the back-to-back crunches. Dr. Roast Beef is going to let the Bibarel go, and now in comes Shadow Jumpluff. With Bibarel out of the way, the Torian now knows there is no longer a hard check for Corsola. So what he's going to do is he's going to bank energy and catch onto the Corsola, preserving that Drapion. He knows Drapion will have value in the endgame. It's guaranteed. So he's going to end up sacrificing the Corsola fully in exchange for an opportunity to reposition. That's always the goal with Shadow Drapion, weaving it in and out of the field of play. The Torian is now going to be waiting down his switch timer here because he needs to burn his clock. Back in comes the Drapion. Drapion is going to be unleashing a crunch. Dr. Roast Beef will shield, but guess what? The Torian's clock is up again, and Dr. Roast Beef cannot land a move on this Drapion to save his life. And somehow the Drapion has been on the field of play 2 times and managed to escape both times without having significant damage land. And that just means that Drapion is still going to be a nuisance in this endgame. Energy Ball connects, but Diggersby is a very bulky Pokemon, shaking off that damage. This endgame all comes down to farm. Neither trainer wants to give the other one farm. For Dr. Roast Beef, he wants to try and undercharge here to get extra farm on the Jumpluff, but the switch timer's up. In comes the Shadow Drapion, and Shadow Drapion was just an absolute nightmare in that game. Dr. Roast Beef could never land a charge attack on that Pokemon, and that is Shadow Drapion played to the absolute best. The next match we'll be taking a look at is going to be from the Atlanta Regional Championships, 2 decorated competitors and regional champions Out of Pocket versus Elam. Now, both these trainers are running Shadow Drapion on their teams, but the battler that we'll be focusing on for the next few games is going to be Elam. Elam, I'm going to be showcasing games where he wins the lead, loses the lead, and where there's a mirror. In game number 1, he has a winning lead, Shadow Drapion into Shadow Sableye. Drapion is going to overfarm, playing to the CMP tie against the Sableye. Dazzling Gleam would threaten massive damage, so Elam is going to commit the shield, as Pocket does go for a bait. Pocket is going to have to match shields here as a Shadow Crunch would inflict massive damage. We do see a defense drop as well. There's a catch attempt from Pocket, and watch Elam. Elam doesn't switch out just yet. He farms to 100 Drapion energy, and now he brings in the Alolan Sandslash because he knows if you look across Pocket's team of 6, the only Pokemon that wants to take energy from Drapion is already on the field. It's the Azumarill. So he knows 100 Drapion energy will always have value. Alolan Sandslash for Elam is actually on Shadow Claw, which means these fast moves will slowly add up over time. Pocket with a nose shield, but at this point, he has to keep in mind there is 100 energy available on a Drapion. There's going to be a switch into the Sableye. Elam very comfortable letting the Sandslash go. Sandslash is not a Pokemon that he needs to win this game. He's going to send back in the Drapion, unleashing Crunch at this Sableye. Crunch is going to land, and that's some pretty significant damage. He does not get the farm down, but he does one better, rebanking the energy on the Drapion, catching on his own Azumarill, and his Azumarill is going to get the bubble down. And now Out of Pocket is going to be in a difficult position here, sending in his Shadow Drapion. Now, Shadow Drapion, if it does have a very good defense stat, can actually have a bulk point where Bubble does less damage, and that does help Drapion quite a bit in this matchup. Here, Pocket is going to go for a CMP sack swap, catching the move, winning the CMP. Pocket doing whatever he can to claw his way back in this game. The Play Rough is going to land. Elam looking to switch out, and that aggressive switch in with this loaded Shadow Drapion energy is just going to be too much in this game. Pocket, he's looking to the sky. Even a CMP sack swap could not save him from the absolute wrath that is Shadow Drapion energy. Elam is going to use his final shield, and he will be able to outpace here and secure the game number 2 victory. So for Elam, that game could have turned into a loss if he wasn't as precise with his Shadow Drapion overfarms. Pocket with a nice CMP sack swap to get him back in the game, but pristine energy management on Drapion meant there was no win con available for Pocket. The next match we'll be taking a look at is going to be the Shadow Jumpluff into the Shadow Drapion. Now, this is technically considered a bad lead. You're obviously a grass type into a poison type, but Shadow Jumpluff, because it's running acrobatics this season, the threat of an acrobatics will be enough to grab a shield from the Drapion. And shield advantage is exactly what Elam is after. Elam knows that he can outpace, so he will get to connect with an Aerial Ace, and this will put the Drapion into Aqua Tail range. So now, Elam will get to aggressively pivot out into his own Shadow Drapion. Pocket is going to stay in here firing off the Aqua Tail, Elam with the no shield, and Elam is going to anticipate a switch out into the Azumarill and not throw the move right away. Azumarill, of course, is a wall to Shadow Drapion energy, but the clocks are again misaligned. Pocket stayed in to throw a move. Here we do see a bit of good luck for Elam, as Elam does actually end up getting the Crunch debuff. That's a 30% chance. The Ice Beam is going to be shielded. Switch Clock will be available soon. Elam, he's farming back to 100 energy. He can't quite switch yet, so he's forced to throw this Crunch just to burn the Switch Clock, and now in comes Azumarill. He now has energy stored on that Drapion for later in the game. Azumarill versus Azumarill, Play Rough is not going to inflict a lot of damage. The Play Rough is going to land. In comes the Shadow Sableye, but Shadow Sableye is just too far behind on energy. Elam running a line where he brought 3 answers to that Shadow Sableye, and unfortunately for Pocket, the Sableye just doesn't really have anywhere to run. Dazzling Gleam coming out from the Sableye. It's a great move, but it's not going to be enough to KO. Elam knows it. He's going to let it go. This Play Rough will be able to pick up the knockout onto Sableye. Now, a lesser player may stay in here and concede the farm, but Elam's always going to play aggressive. He switches into the Drapion. He tried to snipe there, but he did actually throw a fast move instead. So unfortunately, he does not actually get the snipe he was going for. We see the catch onto the Azumarill by Pocket. Pocket literally doing everything that he can in this game, but unfortunately, Shadow Drapion energy again just completely overwhelming. Energy management is so crucial in this meta, and Elam proves it time and time again. We've seen a type advantage lead, we've seen a type disadvantage lead. What about a Shadow Drapion mirror? Now, these games to me are some of the most interesting because this is a true mirror. Both players are running Shadow Drapion, Azumarill, and they have Alolan Sandslash in the back. Elam is going to fire off an Aqua Tail. We are going to see the no shield from out of pocket. The Aqua Tail is going to connect. He's firing off another Aqua Tail, and we will see a shield from Elam. Now, Elam has to be mindful of a potential catch from Pocket. Pocket tries for the catch. He does not get it. And look what Elam does. He banks 100 energy. And again, he's going to send in the Sand Slash. Sand Slash does such a great job at walling off both charge attacks from the Azumarill. And again, failing that catch puts Pocket in a very difficult position. Pocket, at this point, knows that his Drapion loses that charge attack priority die, so he has to try and make some kind of play, but unfortunately, Elam's predictions have been literally perfect in this series so far. Elam is going to be firing off the Drill Run. That's going to get Azumarill deep into the red. Azumarill returning fire with the Play Rough, and Elam always going to be very comfortable just letting the Sand Slash go. The Sand Slash's job is just to absorb energy. Now, Pocket is going to meet the switch-in of the Azumarill with his own Alolan Sand Slash, but his Sand Slash is on Powder Snow. Powder Snow obviously making it a lot better into the grasses and a lot more consistent into Drapion because you actually have fast move pressure there, but into the Azumarill, it does make this matchup more uncomfortable. Play Rough is going to connect, and Pocket now in a difficult position where what do you decide to shield? The 100 energy on Elam Shadow Drapion has to be weighing heavy on his mind at this point of the game because he knows that he's going to have that energy go somewhere. Either it's shielded or it's going to land. The last second Drill Run is reached. Elam again going to no shield. Very comfortable with letting these bulkier Pokemon get knocked out. There's the switch and a nice snipe by the Drapion. But this is where Elam Shadow Drapion can just run away with the game. Look at the energy he has stored here. This is absolutely absurd. Aqua Tail number 1, followed by Aqua Tail number 2. And he's only one Poison Sting away from Aqua Tail number 3. We are going to see now Pocket firing off the Aqua Tail. Elam is going to commit the shield. Elam very low, still does have a catch attempt as needed. He overfarms, playing to the CMP tie that at this point he knows he wins. This is going to deny Pocket's energy, and Pocket just has no health remaining on anything. In comes the Sand Slash. That gets farmed down as well. And this is just an absolute Shadow Drapion clinic from Elam, who would go on to reset the bracket and claim the title of Atlanta Regional Champion. The next match we'll be taking a look at once again features Out of Pocket, but this time at the European International Championships against Howie. Again, is Shadow Drapion against a Bibarel, the same matchup that we actually saw in Battle 1 of this video. Howie is going to expend an early shield on the Crunch, as Bibarel at the time before the rollout nerf did have quite a bit of neutral play, but Shadow Drapion over time did have the ability to outpace it. Drapion is going to be firing off another Crunch. We are going to see a no shield from Howie. Crunch connects, and that's devastating damage onto the Bibarel. We are now going to see a shield from Out of Pocket. Out of Pocket, more than happy to just commit to a farm down. In comes Azumarill. And at this point, you should already know what's about to happen. He farms up right before Azumarill gets the Ice Beam, banks a ton of energy, and sends in Galarian Corsola, as he knows again that Drapion energy goes everywhere in this meta. There's one thing that walls off Drapion's energy. Its name is Azumarill, and if it's already on the screen, you can't have two Azumarills on your team. So this energy is guaranteed to go quite far. Corsola is going to be hit with the Play Rough, but that is very fine. Corsola, a very bulky Pokemon, able to shake off that damage. Corsola going to look to overfarm quite significantly. In comes Bibarel, not wanting to risk trying to double resisted Astonish farm down. Pocket is going to go for a Nightshade. That does preserve a little bit of HP for him. He also has an ability to make a move versus whatever gets brought in here. Howie is thinking about it. He sends in the Azumarill. That's going to be a CMP tie that Corsola wins. Howie always choosing to let this go, because now he will have an ability to try and close the game with Talonflame. Talonflame enters the field, and here's where energy on that Shadow Drapion is going to go very far. Drapion at 2.5 Aqua Tails, 2 more Poison Stings, and he gets to the back-to-back moves. Howie knows this. Talonflame wins the CMP tie. Pocket knows as well, so Pocket's just going to switch. He gets the catch of the Fly and a Sneak, and that's just instantly game winning. And all that Drapion energy from earlier pressured Howie into throwing instantly there. Otherwise, without a move loaded, he could have just farmed down. but he's pressured to throw instantly, Pocket just catches, and as a result, he's able to get the match win 2-0. The final match we'll be taking a look at is the group semifinals from Stockholm. PvP David, who's actually matched up against his father. The leads are set for game number 1, and it's a true mirror Azumarill versus Azumarill. Now this matchup is quite IV dependent. Typically, if it's a matchup between two high-rank Azumarills, the rank 1 Azumarill will survive the third play rough with exactly 1 hit point left. However, you can run some interesting stats, a slight attack weight on your Azumarill to help nullify this and make it so that the third player up actually does KO the rank 1 Azumarill. So there is quite a lot of IV factors in play in this particular matchup. Looking at the back lines, both trainers are pretty content with having their opponent's Azumarill get neutralized here early. Play rough is going to come out and connect, and it is going to be a CMP tie here at the end, and it looks like David's dad is going to win the CMP tie. David is going to be no shielding here. Does he survive on 1 HP? No, but here is where Shadow Drapion hits the field. Drapion going for the full farm down, getting the full farm down, and what is the counterplay for David's dad? The moment he saw Drapion, he can't pivot Wigglytuff because he knows there's a Talonflame that's probably lurking somewhere in the back. He can't pivot the Talonflame as Talonflame loses that matchup as well. So he's forced to just stay in, concede a massive farm down, and now he's just going to get completely overrun by Shadow Drapion energy. Aqua Tail after Aqua Tail. My favorite thing about Shadow Drapion is the fact that it rewards hyper-aggressive play. Being able to commit to farm downs like these, in comes Talonflame. Talonflame going to be met with the Swift, and now David just has to hope that it's not going to be a Bastiodon in the back, and it's not. David's dad brought his own Talonflame, which means this game will end up being a win. He is going to be able to commit the shield, and now he's going to look to farm up to 100 energy and then full send the back-to-back Brave Birds. Obviously, you can't hold back-to-back Brave Birds, so it'll be a Brave Bird, it'll be one more Incinerate, and unfortunately for David's dad, David's Talonflame will survive that incinerated -3 defense. Brave Bird is going to KO, and that game was brilliantly set up by David making the choice to aggressively farm down with the Drapion. So throughout watching these battles, what have we learned? First of which, Shadow Drapion is the most flexible Pokemon in the current competitive Pokemon Go PvP meta. There is exactly one meta-relevant Pokemon that walls off its energy, and that is Azumarill. And Azumarill, that matchup is not even particularly convincing. If you have that Azumarill bubble bulk point with a very high defense Shadow Drapion, and if you manage to get a crunch debuff, which is a 30% chance, Drapion can actually make plays towards winning that matchup as well. But even though this is a very strong Pokemon, I think Drapion's influence on the meta does end up being a healthy one overall. I know that metas rise and fall, and Drapion's time will not be forever, but for this current 2025 competitive season, Shadow Drapion is absolutely unbelievable, and we've seen that these battlers who know how to carefully manage their energy and re-farm and try and max out energy before pivoting out, that kind of aggressive energy-focused play style, not focusing as much on switch advantage, keeps getting rewarded, and it keeps flipping games into victories. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Henry, and this is my second channel, the More Henry channel, where I focus on content centered around the Pokemon Go Championship Series, as well as educational content for those looking to improve their game. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.